Hi, this is Allison Lee Rosenfeld, and you may know me as the voice of Bonnie from Pokemon, and you are watching Anime Egotists. Will you please take care of my big brother? Happy watching!
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where no one would join our Magic Knight squads unless we paid them really well.
Hey, I thought that they were indentured servants.
No, I would never call them that, especially while people are listening to this. But, anyways, my name's Alex, and personally, I would still want to graduate from an anime high school at some point. I couldn't be stuck in the school forever like some students.
Yeah, I tend to agree. There's too much craziness that goes on in anime high school. And I'm Richard.
That's correct. And yeah, it's been a minute since we've been here, but we're glad that you guys are enjoying your new year, at least hopefully enjoying the podcast, all that other stuff. And speaking of podcasts, we talk a lot on this podcast. Some would say we do speeches, and anime has, well, a lot of speeches.
Exactly. And we decided to go over kind of our favorite speeches so far that we could think of in anime.
That's right. These speeches can be motivating, sad, heartwarming, or just downright bizarre.
Exactly. And I mean, I even have one or two that are kind of evil when you think about it, so.
Oh, goodness. Anyways, do you mind if I start us off?
Go right ahead.
All right. So my first favorite speech in anime, Sakamoto's graduation speech from Haven't You Heard, I'm Sakamoto.
Okay.
So it's graduation time at Sakamoto's school. And of course, he's the one doing the speech because, like, well, who else was going to do it? But ultimately, he starts talking about how everybody's going to be moving on to different aspects of their lives. And just how you should go about your life in some cases. Meanwhile, there's a bully who's trying to twist Achan into attacking Sakamoto during the speech, which sucks because just how much Achan has grown to respect and care about Sakamoto. But the thing is, Sakamoto, as he's getting attacked, just dodges everything, which makes it all the more interesting because as he's talking, he's saying, look, I'm known for thinking about things, and everybody says, oh, you should think about things before you go through with them. But he even admits that that Sakamoto's a bit jealous of some of the other students because there are some students who can just go in head first. And he says, sure, you should think about things, but diving head first and using your instincts is pretty cool too. So, and it's really interesting in my opinion because of how perfect Sakamoto is. Even he kind of admits, yeah, I'm kind of jealous about how certain people are able to go about it. Kind of showing Achan and his friends, hey, there's value to how you do things too, and I admire that. And in the end, he also ends it with, but as long as you have your friends by you, then it doesn't matter how you do things. I don't know. It's just a really touching speech and just shows how much both Sakamoto respects everybody else outside of him and how Achan has grown thanks to Sakamoto.
Yeah, this is a series that I need to go back and finish it. I know we started watching it right before I graduated, and then I never got around to finishing it. So, but you've always talked this show up, and it sounds like a nice. I guess kind of is this the end of the series?
Last episode.
Okay, so yeah, I could definitely see this being a good closing moment for the show, especially because from what I remember, Sakamoto doesn't talk too much throughout the entire series.
I would not be able to pick his voice out of a lineup, truth be told.
So the fact that you give him this grandiose speech, it's like you know that it's kind of well prepared and that he's put a lot of thought into it based on, and that's just, I think I've only seen like the first 3 episodes of the series. So
yeah, there was another speech that what ended up happening right afterwards, but I didn't want to get into that one because that got me in the feels. But Sakamoto's graduation speech, it was a good time for everybody.
All right. So my first one. All right. So I'm kind of interested to get your feel on this one, but it's during the first Goku, well, I guess it's the only Goku versus Beerus fight. It kind of starts with um Beerus kind of trapping Goku underground and Goku's shouting, "I will not let you destroy my world," and then flying up but then it goes into Goku kind of talking about the power and how he doesn't feel that he deserves it because he didn't earn it. It was just sort of transferred to him through his friends and stuff. And you get the kind of budding ideas of Beerus wanting it to be more of, well, just embrace this power, and Goku being, well, I haven't earned it. And it's just in my opinion, one of those more interesting speeches because you get to delve into Goku's psyche, which and actually feel something versus just him wanting to fight all the time.
Yeah, it's especially. I really think Beerus was the perfect person to kind of go this because, like I've said before, Beerus is not completely a good guy. He's still somewhat of a villain, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, just to add that level, also from Beerus's perspective of, hey, you're doing a lot better than you think you are. I don't know. It just made Beerus one of the more interesting villains from his perspective when he first showed up.
Exactly. It's I don't know if it's fully a speech because it is a back and forth, but in my opinion, it kind of is because Goku is talking about what his ideals are and that he views that this is a power that he couldn't attain by himself and he hates himself for that. And it's like it's one of those things that, I mean, he's done all this trading throughout his life and he's reached something that he wouldn't have been able to on his own. And it's just an interesting moment in the series for something that has been about, I guess, getting stronger with your friends for a long time.
Yeah. And then he ended up getting smacked around by Beerus even more. And Beerus is like, okay, I'll let the Earth live. It has some of my favorite foods, which I guess I can agree with.
Well, we've seen some of the alien stuff, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I can co-sign on to that. It was a pretty cool introspective for both of them, but more so Goku, I'd say.
yeah. As I said, it's mainly because I don't think since then we've gotten a great moment of Goku being overly philosophical on himself. He's been very jokey, but and I guess, I mean, maybe when he had hired Hit to kill him, but
That was still one of the best episodes. Because I was shook by that.
yeah. So there are some good moments, but I still think that this is kind of the best moment that we get to understand Goku where he's at.
Yeah, I get you. I can co-sign on to that.
All right. So your next one.
Naruto's speech to, well, Dark Naruto.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're gonna talk no jutsu, I guess at some point you should talk no jutsu yourself. But in all seriousness, right before the war starts, Naruto wants to train with Killer Bee and get more in touch with, well, the nine-tailed fox. But one of the things that happens is the darkness from him emerges and he has to fight it. And you get a good look into what Naruto would have turned into had he not made any friends. Because let's remember, the village hated his guts for no real good reason, and because of him. And they hated him, and you just see the torture that Dark Naruto has gone through. And when they fight, nothing really goes all that well. But after Naruto does some thinking, he thinks, yeah, there's darkness inside of me, but at the same time, I was able to grow stronger because of it in a sense. So I'm not gonna fight you. In fact, I have to thank you for that. And Dark Naruto is down on his luck. He's shaking. He's furious. He wants to cry. And he charges towards original Naruto, and Naruto just pulls him in for a hug and says, "Don't worry," and basically tells him, "Don't worry. I can handle things for both of us. Thank you." It's just a really cool moment because it shows Naruto. Look, Naruto's a pain in the neck when we first meet him, but he's grown so much at this point to the point of, I'm not going to let darkness take over. I'm not going to let hatred, like Pain talked about, take over. There's darkness inside everybody, but we don't have to completely get rid of it. We don't have to hate it. We just can't let it take over us. And that's what leads to him getting stronger, both physically and spiritually. I thought it was always one of my favorites when I went back and rewatched it for the first time.
I can definitely agree. It's interesting because if I remember correctly, they're fighting at the start of this, and it ends with Naruto hugging and embracing himself and accepting that part of himself that could have led him down a very dark path if you think about it. Because I mean, you've seen what some characters like Gara and stuff almost became through being treated this way. And it's interesting that Naruto, despite not having any connections, Gaara still had his siblings. They were scared of him, but he still had his siblings.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, well, it's just a moment that really needs to happen, especially with the war going on, because like Gintama talks about, whether you win or lose, like nobody really wins a war. Or so the fact that he was able to see, yeah, we're gonna lose people, but and it might cause more darkness, but I'm not gonna let the darkness take over. I don't know. I think it's one of Naruto's best moments, and not that it's underrated. I just don't. I feel like it deserves some love.
I can agree. I definitely think this is. I really liked the whole arc of him first conquering the Nine Tails, but then befriending the Nine Tails, which is this is kind of the start of that.
I would have asked for his name earlier, but I'm not the main character.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was always called Nine Tail, Demon Tails, all sorts of different things like that. So,
I think gets called Foxy in the Rock Lee show, and he doesn't know how to respond to it.
oh god, I don't know if I would either.
Anyways, Naruto versus and Dark Naruto speech. What's your next one?
All right, so I'll go with the one I also have from Naruto, which I kind of started to bring up. It's Gaara's speech to the Allied Shinobi forces at the start of the war.
That was one of my backup ones, so that works perfectly.
This one is such a good way to round out Gaara's character and how far he's come. It's when you, especially because the way this starts out is that members of the Allied Shinobi Force are about to start killing each other because they just view the other villages as having been enemies for too long, and that it just doesn't make sense to do this. And Gaara manages to make a speech about how he believed the same way they did, and that he was angry and hated the world, and all he wanted to do was destroy it. But then Naruto came around and who went through pretty much the same things as he did, but had this, but was more, I don't know if alive is the right word, but more free and having that happiness, and changed how Gaara viewed the world. And then rushed to his aid when he was stripped of Shikaku and all that. And he just goes into all this detail of how no matter what, even if the Allied Shinobi forces falls apart, he's going after these people to save Naruto, because that's what Naruto would do for him if it was reversed.
Yeah, and especially kind of because they both kind of do the same for each other. Like when it's revealed Gaara dies and Naruto snaps on everyone, says, "Why the hell did you put this thing inside of Gaara? Did you ever think how it was going to affect him?" And I feel like Kakashi and Sakura kind of try to calm him down, but at the same time, it's like they both know each other so well, and they're both almost the same person. And it makes sense that they feel this way about each other. Heck, it makes it cooler because in the end of the speech, Gaara says, "Look, and if any of you have a problem for how I've treated you in the past, come fight. We can settle it later. But for now, we all have to work together." It just sort of reminds me that Gar is not immune to his own past. Like he acknowledges, yeah, I did some messed up stuff, but if we all die, you can't get your revenge on me. So let's work together for now.
Exactly. And it's just, it's a powerful moment because you see the people change. You hear them listen and finally start to understand each other a little bit and realize that they're all still human, they're all still ninjas, and that they may have their differences, but how different really are they is kind of the mindset that they all start to develop.
Yeah, like I said, it really just makes it so that Gara really is one of my favorite characters. He did so much growing.
Exactly. And that's why I had to put this on my list. It's just such a fun little speech.
Yeah. All right, we've had some fun speeches, but I got to get to some sad ones. You mind if I just do this one?
Go right ahead.
Kiddo's goodbye in Zatch Bell.
Okay.
All right, so during the Ancient Momoto arc, Kanchome, Fulgore, Dr. Riddles, and Kiddo all have to team up against this 50-foot tall Momoto and his partner. And the battle's not going great. Dr. Riddles is getting thrashed around, and the book, him and Kiddo's book, ends up getting burnt. But while Dr. Riddles is knocked out, the spirit of Kiddo, I guess, says, "Dr. Riddle, Well, so, you've always been there for me, and you promised I'd be a king, that one day I would be a king, and it shows a flashback of Dr. Riddle, and his backstory is actually really tragic because he was a really famous surgeon who couldn't save the life of a kid, and the kid passed away. And in the Japanese version, it's revealed that the kid was his grandson. And and Kiddo saved him because Dr. Riddles was a shut-in during that time. And you see just how much they've learned from each other, and Kiddo's like, I'd like to think that I got really strong, even if I didn't become the Momoto ruler. Like, you helped me get a lot better. I'd like to think I made you proud. Oh, oh, well, and he even says, "Oh, by the way, before I go, you might want to use my final spell. I think you're gonna like it." And they use the final spell, and it stops the enemy. But the last words he says is, "Dr. Riddles, thank you for everything. If it makes you feel any better, you're my king." And it ends, and Kiddo gets sent back. They save the day at that point, but it's not a happy moment. It also just it hurts because Kanjima and Fulgore for the next several episodes feel guilty just how they couldn't save Kiddo. Oh, but the speech itself and just how much of a jokester Kiddo could be, but just how mature it came off, just really resonates in that arc.
Yeah, it's God, that's a very big moment, and I don't have much more to say about it than what you've done here. It's been so long since I've seen it, but I do remember as a kid going, wait, they're doing a whole big goodbye. Wow. And it's a lot to go
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, you just feel for them because they're kind of jokesters at times, but you just see down the line of when people are like, "Wait, where's Kiddo?" Oh, Dr. Riddle says Kiddo went back to the Momoto world, and people start crying. Dr. Riddle's like, "What are you doing? We have to keep going." He wouldn't want us crying about it, but you can tell it's killing him inside. Like, just with everything he's been through.
Yeah, and especially being losing the one that helped you kind of come back out of in the world after your personal tragedy can be that much harder to make to want to stay in the world after that. So I can definitely see this being a very hard moment for him, and the fact that he stays strong is that he has grown. They've grown together, I think.
Yeah. But Kiddo telling Dr. Riddles that he's his king. I'm not I cried as I teared up as a kid. I tear up now that I'm older and I'm watching it.
All right. So my next one.
Please.
All right. So this one's not really sad. It's to kind of show just how evil the bad guy is. And it's Charles Z. Britannia from Code Geass. All men are not created equal.
Oh, Jesus.
It is just such a well done speech, but I mean, the meaning of everything is just it shows just how evil Charles is. The fact that and allows you to understand that why he pits his children against each other and treats those that have issues like his daughter and those that are, in his opinion, lesser borns as pretty much slaves or whatever his empire needs at the time. It's just freaky, and it listening to it makes your skin crawl when you think about it. Everything that he talks about in this speech.
Yeah, this speech really just proves just how much of an unlikable son of a bitch he is. And I mean that in the best way possible, because it's like, oh my God, I just it's to me, and I don't have any more Naruto speeches on my list. It's kind of like some of Orochimaru's speeches where you're like, this is super twisted and I hate him, but like, God damn, is this compelling?
Yeah, it makes for an interesting villain because he's so evil, and it's like there's no redeeming quality to this man, is there? And no, there really isn't. And you
But if
see
you
that
look
throughout the
deep, but if you look deep down, no, no.
No, I mean the fact that he can treat his own children in a way to make them fight each other for controls of the little bit of land or territory or military units that he offers them, and then God, yeah, just because I know everybody gets labeled that isn't from his empire as second class or third class citizens and stuff. It's just, yeah, it's one of those moments when you realize how evil can a person be.
Yeah, I definitely give it credit for being one of the better speeches in anime, but dear God, I would punch this man if I could.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And this is one of those series I kind of want to go back and watch again, but because it's been a long time, but I don't know if I want to either.
I can't rewatch anything right now. Like I'm actually watching new stuff right now, and I'm actually proud of myself. But I couldn't put any of those speeches on my list because I'm like, I'm like 2 episodes in. Let me wait.
You got to see what happens because of the speech and all that.
Exactly,
If
exactly.
aspects. So I can understand that.
All right, but I can co-sign. So my next speech,
Go right ahead.
let's show our lame sides from Daily Lives of High School Boys.
Okay.
All right, you wouldn't think we'd get that many powerful speeches in this show, and you'd actually probably be correct. But still, I like this one. So, one of the characters, Hidenori, is at the riverbank, and there's this girl who's always been kind of fascinated with him. Like what her name, one of her names is just the literature girl, but she's had a crush on him for a good while. And the scene kind of finds a way of dumping all expectations on their head because she tries to talk to him. All of her homework flies out of her bag. She tries running after it. She trips and falls. She starts to get a band-aid, but she can't open the box. She sneezes all over herself. Everything's going horribly wrong for this girl who's trying to be cool for the person she likes. Finally, she slips and lands on him, and he just sits there, not even reacting to it. Finally, she freaks out over it, and it's a very quick speech, but he says, well, actually, you shouldn't feel all that bad. And I don't want you acting cool for me. Let's show our lame sides. That's the people we really are. I don't know. It's just a really cool moment from somebody like Hidenori to realize, look, acting superficial and acting cool and brave for somebody is can be fine. But after that disappears, that's what really counts. When you're just your normal self of, and that's the person I find to be beautiful. Unfortunately, as he's about to tell her all of that after monologuing, he stands up and headbutts her, and he gets knocked out by accident.
It sounds like an interesting speech, and it is a good message to, especially when you're trying to date someone or be a good friend or something with someone. It's not a good idea to not be yourself, because then it can just come off as they don't actually understand you, and then it can lead to other issues down the line.
Yeah. I honestly, between the two of them, I can't tell who's my favorite character because she's one of the most relatable because everything goes wrong for this girl. But I like that he's like, hey, be your lame self. I like your lame self. And honestly, so does the rest of the audience before proceeding to knock her out.
Yeah, that is an interesting way to end the speech, because it definitely has him showing his lame side, I guess.
Yep. Because the second he knocks her out, he's like, crud.
So yeah, I definitely like the message of that speech. I've got Daily Life of High School Boys on my list, but I don't know when I'll get around to it.
That's fine.
It's just, yeah, if I ever want to, I guess it's kind of slice of life comedy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, if I ever am interested, maybe that'll be one I'll jump on then.
Sure.
All right, so my next one.
Go ahead.
So this one is, I don't know. I'm gonna call it a speech. It's Yang Wen Lee's in the very first episode, "Follow my orders and you will live" speech, and pretty much, yet Yang Wen Lee is one of the two protagonists of Legend of the Galactic Heroes. He's I don't remember what his rank is. It may be Commodore or Captain, but he's one of the higher. He's a mid-level officer, I guess, at this point. In For the Republic Federation. I don't remember what their type of government is, but the one that you would consider the good guys, technically. And he pretty much they had broken their fleet up into, I think, 3 different smaller fleets, and pretty much been wiped out by the other protagonists in space battle. And Yang comes on and says pretty much what I said: follow my orders and you will live, and manages to put up a counterattack, get them force the Empire to retreat because they managed to get their forces in behind them, and then doesn't destroy the enemy, but manages to force them to retreat, which allows them time to regroup and retreat themselves. So it's not leading to a victory, but it's one of those where he makes the fleet agree with him, and it's an interesting moment, especially a way of introducing him.
Yeah. It's especially all the more interesting because it's just that straightforward. But sometimes speeches don't have to be super poetic and thought-provoking. Sometimes it's just like, yeah, just do this and you will be okay. Sometimes it really is just that simple.
Exactly. And as I said, it is a really good way of introducing Yang for the audience, because I mean, you could just show him taking command of the fleet, but he makes a whole speech and it's on open comm, so even like the Empire ships and the hear him and are sort like, who is this man? Because he's not a well-known officer at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that really helps establish him. And it's especially cool how it happens really early in the series. Like the audience, like the writers think, okay, we have to establish this character in this moment. And from the sounds of it, they really succeeded with that.
Yeah, because you have I think I could be wrong, but I think the main character for the other side is Reinhardt, I think is his go-to name. And it's and you get to see, because he's commanding the fleet that's attacking, and you get to see him dissect their fleet before Yang takes over, and it's an interesting back and forth at that point because of this.
Yeah, I could see that. Do these two interact all that much, or were these the characters who you said, that maybe they could have been friends had they actually like gotten to know each other better?
I've talked about them before, and I think that, yeah, if they met each other, I don't remember. They may have met or talked once in the series, but I know Reinhardt's assistant, he's a main character in the first 2 parts of the series, does meet Yang during like peace talks of some kind.
Gotcha.
But other than that, I don't think they actually interact any.
Yeah, but I can co-sign. It does sound like it would be a great way to start the series and establish the character.
Exactly.
All right, so honorable mentions time.
Honorable mentions time.
All right, this one's a little bit of a mean speech, but it was a necessary one. Misty shuts down Ash from Pokemon.
Okay.
All right, so you might be thinking which time that Misty just utterly destroys Ash, but I want to talk about, and I want to say the 3rd episode when Ash catches Caterpie, and well, technically Pidgeotto too. So Ash catches Pidgeotto thanks to Pikachu, but he sends out Caterpie first, and Misty goes off on him saying, that was a really stupid idea what you did. That Pidgeotto is a bird, Caterpie is a worm. Birds eat worms, Mr. Pokemon Master. And at this point, Ash just kind of thinks he's going to be the best. He already thinks he's really good at his job. And he's kind of shaken by this. He's like, but if you just work really hard, everything works out. And Misty harshly, but rightfully says, no, Ash, everything is not going to work out if you just keep working hard. Kind of showing the message of, look, working hard is very important. But sometimes it's not the only thing you need. You actually need to think things through. You actually need to find ways of getting better, especially because your Pokemon are the ones taking the fall, not you. She even said, in order for the Pokemon to grow, the trainer has to as well. And unfortunately for your Pokemon, the trainer in your case doesn't have a brain. Harsh, but at the same time, let's not act like Ash didn't deserve this early on in his tenure. He was obnoxiously overconfident.
Yeah, I could definitely agree to this one. And I'm trying to remember, because you get to watch as Misty actually does develop some respect for Ash, as Ash does grow and become a halfway decent trainer, then lose it all, then become a halfway decent trainer, and then lose it all, and then become a halfway decent trainer, and then become world champion.
Look, I'm just saying, for anybody out there who hates Misty, and a lot of people that do seem to be younger fans who haven't watched from the beginning, Ash needed this wake-up call. Ash needed somebody to tell him, hey, you can be good, but you have to stop screwing around and like actually get your head out of your ass. I don't see Serena doing that at this point in the series.
Yeah, and I think there's another thing to consider is when Ash is more of a mentor to May and Dawn, he's nicer about it in a lot of cases than Misty was, but he still teaches them the same lessons or helps them learn those same lessons that he had to go through.
Yeah, exactly. Just showing Misty did have an effect on Ash, whether he wants to admit it or not. I don't actually think he'd want to admit it.
I don't know. Like these last few seasons, he probably would have, but if you go back further,
I don't know. Ash Ketchum. There are too many Ash Kind of a hot take. I feel like the Pokemon anime has made Ash into so many different characters that he feels like so many different characters, and I don't know if I mean that in a good or bad way. It's a little bit of both.
yeah, I can definitely see that because I think through X and Y, he's kind of all the same character, and you see that, and then I mean, Black and White is a little weird because it's a hard reset for him, but other than that, um, they do a pretty good job of keeping Ash relatively consistent. But then when he reaches Alola, his personality does have some changes to it. He's not as mean spirited as he used to be, I guess, is kind of and overconfident.
Yeah. But my point being, like, his character development just feels too weird for me to say I give this an A, because it feels bizarre. But ultimately, look, I love Ash. I will always love Ash. But Misty shutting him down definitely needed to happen.
Especially at this point, because he was making mistakes that, if you think back on it, you probably made when you first played the games. I know
No,
I did.
I didn't. No.
Mr. Pokemon Master here.
I know. Well, to be fair, I knew when I started playing Pokemon, birds beat worms.
Yeah. I see mine was with because my first game that I owned was Yellow. So I had trouble because I only had Pikachu and didn't know how to get him high enough level to beat Brock.
That's well, technically neither did Ash, but that's not a point for another day. But that's my first honorable mention.
All right. So my first honorable mention now.
Please.
So this is one that's occurred a few different times, at least twice that I can remember. I think there's a third time as well, and it's from Fairy Tail, and it's the Fairy Tail Guild farewell ceremony.
Okay.
This occurs whenever someone who is pretty much leaving Fairy Tail gets told to pretty much what they can and can't do. They can't contact former clients for jobs to make money. They can't interfere with with guild business anymore. But then the final part is understand that while we are apart, you are still part of this family, and that we want you to live well and go off on and pretty much telling the person to go on and live well. And the two times we get this are Urza's childhood friends who aren't really part of the guild, but are seeking their own because they've been enslaved for their entire childhood into their mid to late teens. And then with one of the guild members when they're in an alternate dimension, he's actually from the alternate dimension and has to stay. And they do it but there's a big ceremony involved with it, where they celebrate the person as well.
So people have to leave Fairy Tail after a certain point?
No, it's more or less just you can choose to leave, or in one case, kind of forced because he's not going to be able to go back to the other universe again.
Yeah, I get that. I can't agree though. Goodbye speeches are usually I feel like goodbye speeches are ridiculously hard to mess up. Unless somebody actively tried to, which I kind of would want to see. But it's nice to know that this goodbye just left an impact for so many fans.
Yeah, and I can't remember if it's like it's hard to remember if they say something like this isn't goodbye, but it's see you later or something. They might include that line in there. I can't remember exactly, but it's been a while since I've watched these speeches, but it's done really well in the both moments that I can remember. And as I said, I think is a third time that they do it as well. But I
Yeah,
have to look back.
it gets to the point where it's just like, oh, we've heard 3 of these speeches by now. You think hearing these speeches as many times would get kind of repetitive, and you would be right. This is nuts.
Well, yeah, when you think of how many episodes, it's a 300 episode anime. So once every 100 episodes is kind of okay.
At this point, if I was part of Fairy Tail, I'd just leave the first time. I'm like, you know what? I'll just graduate. I can't hear this more than once. This is ridiculous.
Ah, yeah, that'd be funny because then they turn and start doing it to you now as well.
Hey, it's better than any graduation speech I've been a part of because those take hours. This seems like it only took a couple minutes.
Yeah, and as I said, it's a nice moment because we've gotten two very interesting takes on it because one was done as like a very kind and emotional gesture, and the other's interesting. Is the best word to put it. It's more about um, making him look good for the people of this other universe.
Yeah, I can, and all my joking aside, I do think I will like the speech once I give Fairy Tail a chance.
All right. So your next honorable mention?
Ryuji defends Sophia from Persona 5 Strikers.
Okay.
All right, so for those of you who don't know Strikers, it's kind of the sequel to Persona 5. The gang meets up for their summer vacation and goes on road trips together while still returning to being the Phantom Thieves. And one of their newest members, Sophia, is like an artificial intelligence who is known for being humanity's companion, but she has a lot of problems with that because she doesn't know how to help humanity. She's even lost a lot of memories as to who made her, what's going on, what was my purpose outside of this that the thieves help with. But ultimately, in one of the prisons that they infiltrate, they're like palaces, but now they're called prisons. There's a disembodied voice that sounds very similar to they're saying you're worthless. You don't know. You came here and you don't know how this is affecting you. You don't know how to help people. How are you going to lead them out of here? You're you were born worthless and you still are worthless. Yes, and she gets dejected about that. But Ryuji, being one of the first Phantom Thieves she meets, says, "Shut your mouth. How Sophia's done nothing but help us. Sure, there are times where she might slip up, but we all care about her. I'm not going to let you talk bad about her." And a little joke running in the Persona fandom is that Ryuji can't drop an F bomb. Every time he talks, he says F this, F that. But at this moment, he says, "So why don't you get off of her back and shut your fucking mouth?" And I'm gonna be honest, it was 7 in the morning when I heard this, and I had to try not to scream because I was so proud of Ryuji for standing up for his friend. And I'll even be nice. I'll give Morgana credit because after this, everyone's kind of taken aback by it. But Morgana says, "Skull, Phantom Thieves are supposed to be more gentlemanly than that, but not this time." And they both just start cursing out the disembodied voice together. In all honesty, it's just a really cool moment of Ryuji saying, "I don't care who you are, you don't mess with my friends." And Morgana saying, "Hey, Skull is Skull, but he's right on this."
I could definitely see this being a good moment. I don't know Strikers because I've only played a little bit of the original game and then only watched the anime, so I don't know the character. But it does sound like a very nice moment, especially because from what I remember, I always just assumed that it was like just them bleeping it, but
Nope.
it's him literally saying "f this" and okay, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it also I also just picked it because I know even though you haven't seen Strikers, you know Ryuji would do this type of thing, just knowing the type of person he is.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I guess when there isn't a moment with Morgana kind of already doing this, where he during their separation and all that.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to pick. No, I'm not gonna say it. Morgana was cool in this scene. I'm not gonna pick on him. Honestly, I think I might like Strikers more than the original Persona 5. I don't know. Like, it's one of those games I'm like, oh my God, I'm loving this.
Yeah, I have a new. I actually bought Royal on my computer, so eventually I'm going to get around to playing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, there's another Phantom Thief added named Zenkichi. I think you're gonna really like him in Strikers. Oh, you got oh dear God, you got Royal.
Was the version that was on sale when I bought it, so
Oh, that means you're gonna learn about Yoshizawa. Oh dear. Oh dear.
you sound so happy.
Oh yeah. As some of you might not know this, but Yoshizawa is my absolute favorite character from Persona 5. Absolute favorite. Let's let's move on.
Okay, so this is one that I remember really enjoying, and I've had to go back and um, rewatch a little bit just to understand. And it's Tanya's taking God's place from the saga of Tanya the Evil.
Hmm.
This one is another one that's just it's interesting because I don't know. This series is really weird because it's a middle-aged man who kind of wasted his life, got reborn into the body of a little girl, and now is pretty much taking over the military slowly.
I mean, what? That doesn't happen in real life?
In a world of magic, so I don't know. But um it's this is a very dark speech because it's all about uh pretty much they're gonna charge and kill the enemy regardless and do God's work because his God couldn't do it for himself, kind of thing. And it's just a dark moment, and I just love. It's one of those evil speeches that shows how dark. And this is your protagonist from the series, people.
I was gonna say that, yeah.
So, but it's done well, and that's the part because they even cut back to I think it's HQ, and they're like, and some of them are like, oh yeah, they're probably gonna die. I think they're outnumbered there, and one of them points out, it's like, if trust me, it's Titania. She's going to win, give us a victory here, and there's skepticism and stuff, and of course Titania still leads them to victory in the end, and it's just like, wow, this is interesting.
We're talking about war a lot today. I'm starting to notice.
Yeah, kind of. It's. I mean, there's still. Yeah, no. Especially on my list.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm starting to notice just how much you like war.
Uh, these were just the best speeches that I could think of without going over. I could have probably filled a list with Naruto speeches alone because
Yeah,
they
good
when you
God.
watch them by themselves, they're actually mostly really good.
Yeah, but I can agree. Just how twisted this woman, man, whatever the heck Tanya's supposed to be. I don't know. Like, it really does just sell. Just good God, you are twisted, but you're getting the job done. So, g- thumbs up.
Yeah, and this is a series that I keep kind of hoping has more seasons, but then also don't because I know a lot of times when series get more seasons later on, they're usually somehow end up being not so good. So it's one of those weird
That might be a topic we should go over someday.
series that need a second season, or what, or just talking about why second delayed second seasons have issues.
Yes, either one. But yeah, both, neither. I sure.
I don't know. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, but I can agree. But like, dear God, I would not want to be friends with her. She kind of freaks me out.
Yeah, because it's so weird because she's able to put on that. She is able to put on the cutesy face of like little 5-year-old girl, but then also turn around and command adult soldiers to go kill the enemy. It's
To
just
be fair,
it's
I know some people with 5-year-old girls, and most of them can do. Most of them are pretty commanding over their parents anyway.
that is true. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can co-sign onto that though.
All right. So your next speech.
All right, my final honorable mention. There's nothing wrong with being weak. Staying weak is the problem. From Black Clover.
Okay.
All right, so during an invasion, Noelle is kind of struggling. Everybody around her is being badass and fighting against the enemies, but she can't do that because of her lack of control of power. And Fuegoleon of all people says, you're not real. You're not going to let your family's words affect you, are you?" And he kind of shouts at her, saying, "You're on the field of battle. The slightest bit of hesitation could lead to your death." But then he more calmly yet seriously tells her, "There's not being weak is nothing to be ashamed of. Staying weak is." And she kind of realizes, yeah, that's what he's telling me. That's what Asta's been showing me for so long. And it's just a really cool moment because it really inspires Noelle to be a lot stronger in battle and become one of the stronger characters in the series. It's such a simple, short speech, but it had such an impact on her and made her one of the most beloved characters in the series that I had to show it some love.
I can agree to this. I haven't seen this episode, but I have seen the speech because it popped in my YouTube for I guess kind of previews what Crunchyroll does every so often on YouTube. So I saw it through that. And it was like it was a really nice moment. And doesn't this lead her to her one of her first times using her water princess knight power attack?
It gets referenced every now and then, but it is like the main start of her being able to control her powers. And it's nice and look, I love Asta and I love the effect he has on other people, but it's nice to see that other side characters can find ways of helping people. And I'd like to think at some point she'd find a way to thank Fuegoleon for everything he's done, just be like, just keep getting stronger. But he'd say it in a nice way, because Fuegoleon, despite how serious he can be, is a pretty nice guy.
And aren't they cousins technically?
Sorta. Well, actually, yes.
Because they're both considered royalty, but are two different houses in the same family or something.
Yeah, and then there's Leo, and then there's Mimosa, but like the whole family tree is kind of odd.
Yeah, but I seem to remember. I'm thinking maybe I saw the speech when it was tied into her saving her siblings during the elf saga.
She's a better person than I am.
Yeah, she is. But she also proved them completely wrong at that moment.
It's like, I saved you. I'm right. Suck it. She didn't say that, but like if she did, she'd be my favorite character. I'd be like, no, maybe Noelle's pretty awesome. See, I can say nice things about a tsundere. They just have to be well written, and she's like one of the like what one like three, four well written tsunderes in the anime.
Well, that's actually a lot of growth from the start of this podcast because I never thought you would say anything nice about any tsundere.
Let's see, Noelle, Sugami, Luna. Okay, maybe three and a half.
There's one that's kind of sitting there.
Yeah, we'll see. But being weak is nothing to be ashamed of. Staying weak is.
All right. And then this is kind of similar for my final honorable mention. And it's Koro Sensei's losing speech. So pretty much one of the class, I can't remember the character's actual name, but he thought he didn't need to study for their midterms or ranking test, and he ended up outside the top 10. I think he ended up number 11, and he had made a bet with one of the other students that he would outrank them. And he's so upset about it. And Kuro Sensei comes to him and is like, and pretty much explains that the importance of losing is the growth. If you don't learn to lose, you don't learn to grow. And he's pretty much has to talk him through this, and he understands he's upset, but if you don't learn at a younger age that losing can be okay, you'll end up as an adult who gives up on everything that you try because you're not willing to take the failure.
Yeah. It's going to sound completely off topic, but to me, that's kind of what I love about Jaden from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Even when he loses, he kind of finds a way to laugh it off. It kind of makes me think, as weird as it sounds, if Jaden was in Koro Sensei's class, he might actually not have to do that much work with Jaden. Not that Jaden would do that much work in class anyway, but you understand what I mean.
Yeah, but you can kind of see with where I kind of put them together from your previous one about Noel, just about needing to grow and accept that you do have your faults, but if you accept them, you'll grow and learn to overcome them instead of letting them control you.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. You said you don't remember exactly who he was talking to, so I don't feel like I don't feel
It
like I know the specific moment, but I can definitely co-sign though.
it's kind of at the midway point. It's the redhead kid who's I don't know how to describe him. He's kind of psycho, I guess, at the start, where he believes in himself way too much, and he's kind of a little bit punk. It's a weird combination, but it um and he's usually ranked in like I think among the favorite characters in the series.
Yeah, yeah. I can co-sign onto that though. It does sound like he had moments of being a good teacher or to his students, especially with that speech in particular.
Yeah, I mean, this was like the biggest lesson that he could teach this guy, because this guy was like overconfident is kind of how he comes off at the start of the series, and he uh, learns to accept that he can fail, but also learns that he can grow from a failure as long as he learns something new.
Yeah, I can co-sign though. I think I like that speech.
All right, so your final one.
All right, I feel sad now because I kind of want to close out with this one, but we have yours next. But I'll go with, in all honesty, the greatest speech in anime history, the strawberry milk speech from Gintama.
Okay, I saw this when I was like looking through and thinking on different ones. I'm like, I'm not even gonna look at that. I want to hear it from Alex.
Yeah. So, in all honesty, Gintama can be a very thought-provoking series. Like the speech Hichikata said when he said, "I want the woman I love to be happy," or other speeches such as Katsura saying, "It's okay to run away in war. Sometimes it's better to run away from a fight than to push through." Oh, and just all sorts of things. But this one's a little bit different. So, the premise of the actual episode is that the gang is trying to help an old man find a woman that he was in love with years ago. Oh, they say he says he's super rich to get them to help him, but ultimately it turns out that's a lie. So Shinpachi and Kagura want to give up because it's getting more and more difficult, and the man lied to them. But Gintoki, after hearing us more of the story, says, "Nope, we're gonna keep going." And while they're in the hospital, it's like, "No, we can't. We're not. Why should we keep doing this?" And Gintoki said, it starts the speech. Listen up. Let's say you drink too much strawberry milk and have to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, but it's cold outside your bed. You don't want to get up, but the urge to urinate is just too strong. You make up your mind to go. You run to the bathroom, stand in front of the toilet, and let loose. You think that all your life has led to this moment, but then you realize it isn't the bathroom. You're still in the bed. That feeling of lukewarm wetness spreads through like wildfire, but you don't stop. You can't stop. That's what I'm talking about. That's the truth of the strawberry milk. Don't you get it? Yeah, and it sounds insane, but I guess the message of this is sometimes when you have a mission, you just have to keep pushing forward. Or he's just talking about peeing his pants from strawberry milk. I am. It's you never fully know with Gintoki, but he gets the whole hospital to start chanting about strawberry milk, and they eventually complete the mission. So I guess the speech worked out.
I It was on like every list of top speeches when I was just flipping through random ones, just trying to get a few more inspiration ones, just and try to pick between some of the ones that I had already looked at. So I knew it had to be something psychotic, but also absolutely inspiring, and it sounds like it is.
I'm just saying my college life would have been so much better if I actually got people to start chanting for strawberry milk.
Probably could have. They wouldn't have understood, but they probably would have started cheering for strawberry milk.
Yeah. But in all honesty, it just encompasses what Gintama is. Ridiculous, but at the same time, if you think about it, you could learn something from it. But it's still ridiculous though.
From everything I've seen of Gintama, that is the perfect description. It
Yeah.
makes zero sense, but has some really, really nice action and storytelling.
Which is why I think I could be friends with these guys, but I'm not changing Gintoki's sheets from the sounds of it because just no.
What, the strawberry milk pea soaked sheets?
No. No. But still, my favorite speech in anime, just despite how bizarre it is.
Yeah. All right. So my final one.
Sure.
All right. So I picked another one that I think is a very popular speech for a lot of people, and it's Dr. Hiroluke's "When Does a Man Die" speech from One Piece. So pretty much, Dr. Hiroluke is Chopper's adopted father and mentor, and he's dying. He knows he's dying, and his whole goal is to um, pretty much save, in his opinion, the soul of the kingdom. I forgot what the actual name of the kingdom is, but their king is pretty much a very corrupt and killing people, banishing like all the doctors. And Dr. Hiroluke's kind of a mad scientist. He doesn't really know that much about actually being a good doctor, and Chopper ends up giving him poison mushrooms because Dr. Hiroluke taught Chopper that the skull and crossbones means freedom and life and all this stuff, and that's from the pirate flag. And Chopper misinterpreted it and gave him these mushrooms, thinking that they would save his life. And he talks about, but Dr. Hiroluke goes to the castle and makes this speech about when does a man actually truly die. Is it when he dies of illness or dies of natural causes or dies of being poisoned by mushrooms? No, it's when you're forgotten. And his goal was pretty much to not be forgotten, and with his mind of turning the snow pink to symbolize cherry blossoms, which he'd saw in the land of Wano years ago.
Or strawberry milk.
Well, that too. So that's another good way to tie in.
Yeah. In all seriousness, though, I do love this moment, and I feel like One Piece really, really started to take off for me in particular when Sanji and Chopper joined. The one kind of downside being, I feel like Chopper joining took forever, but I was watching it week to week as a kid, so that could have just been me.
Well, he's after the East Blue saga, so he's not even in the first saga. And he's, I don't know, maybe a quarter of the way into this Alabasta saga. So I can understand where it feels like a long time, because you have Vivi's introduced before him, and then there's a village arc, and then Nami gets sick, and that's the whole reason that we go to this other kingdom, is searching for a doctor for Nami.
Yeah, she got sick because Usopp took over cooking instead.
No, it'd probably have been Luffy.
If it was Luffy, there wouldn't have been any food left.
No, Luffy knows enough to share. It's just he would make something absolutely inedible, except for himself.
That is sad but true. But yeah, it also just kind of shows, since you talked about freedom, that's why he joined Luffy's crew, because Luffy doesn't want to be pirates for any dramatic or scary. It's just like freedom. He sees it as freedom, and that's what kind of inspires Chopper to be like, yeah, I'll come with you guys.
Exactly. And it's one of those that this character's in, I don't know, 5 episodes total, and maybe, I guess, a handful more if you count flashbacks, but you still feel for this man because he's dying. He has this goal that he knows he won't achieve in his lifetime, and he's got someone he considers a son in Chopper that he knows that he's not going to be around long enough to take care of, and wants to impart his wisdom. And in all senses, he does, because it allows Chopper to understand and actually gives Chopper his future goal of curing all disease in the world.
Yeah, exactly. He kind of reminding me of Leorio from Hunter x Hunter. Yes, I do call it that. Like, because his first goal, when we meet him, he just seems like he wants to get rich, but it's like, no, I want to get stronger because my best friend passed away, and I want to be a doctor and help it so nobody has to be sick.
Exactly. So this is just one of those characters that I don't think we've had a good chance to talk about yet, and I would be very interested. I wish that maybe we got a bit more. He'd be an interesting one to get, like, episode of on his own where you get to learn why he was in Wano all those years ago.
Exactly, but I can co-sign on to that.
All right. I believe that kind of wraps us up, though, for now.
All right. So, ladies, gentlemen, and others, what are some of your favorite speeches in anime? Whether they're twisted, heartwarming, heartbreaking, or just downright stupid at times, just let us know. And if you're gonna graduate at some point, what anime character would you want doing your speech? Wants it for any of the reasons we talked about.
Yeah, and I mean, do you agree with our lists? Are there any of these speeches that you actually don't like? And tell us why. We'd be interested to know more.
Yeah, and we should be getting some different type of content lately. Hopefully it's still good, but if you've been subscribed to the channel for this long and you're expecting good content, that's just more about you than it does about us.
Exactly.
But anyways, we hope you guys are having a great new year. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and give us suggestions of anything. Be good to yourselves, and we'll see you next time. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you have been listening to Anime Egotists. Good night, and peace easy.